I did meet with the House Judiciary when we were in Cheyenne, and so I'm thankful for this opportunity to be before the senators as well. I'm handing out a packet today. I've been on a library board in Campbell County for 3 years, and I just applied to re-up that position. And so I'm looking forward to continuing to serve my community in that capacity. I do see what the previous speaker was talking about with in regards to library boards and local control. However, I want to point out in my speech today about why we need your help. This is beyond local control at this point. So in your packet, you will see on the first few pages an article that's been put out by a company called Brave Books. And I'm an advocate for Brave Books, but I'm not particularly in line with them on everything here. And you'll see here in their article, they particularly disagree with all LGBTQ information. And I think we need to weave the needle carefully here when we create this legislation, because this isn't about LGBTQ, this is about sexually explicit. And so you'll see here that you're going to have people that say we're trying to ban all LGBTQ information, and that is not the truth. We are talking about sexually explicit in Campbell County alone. I cannot speak for the board, but just my own experience. We have kept the book. It's called Desmond is Amazing. It's the history of the trans history in the children's section, and we have also kept the Heather Has Two Mommies book in the children's section. So people have brought these books, and we've gone through this challenge process, which is effective. But I want to point out to you that on the page 5 in your packets, it looks like this. This is what our wild website looks like. And so when you go online to request a book, and your librarians are so wonderful about putting those on the shelf at the front door if you can't go in for very long. So this is what it looks like. In Campbell County, we have this book. It's called Welcome to St. Hel, My Trans Teen Misadventure. Now, no one's ever challenged this book, but it came up in the article I read from Brave Books. And so I just looked to see if we had it in our library, and sure enough, we do. So if someone wanted to challenge this book, they could, because we have a paper version. But then you'll see below here, it says checked out. We have an e-comic version and a Kindle version, and you can place the holds on Libby. I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with Libby. I love Libby. Our family uses Libby all the time. We check out Henry and Mudge, the paper version, and then we get the audio version, and my 8-year-old listens to Henry and Mudge, and it's wonderful. So Libby is a resource. I'm an advocate for it. However, my 8-year-old can also use my Libby app and literally type in erotica and listen to audible porn on Libby. And so I just am saying there is no opt-in, there is only an opt-out, and Libby is not regulated. The new bill about age verifications, I've been told, does not relate to Libby, because of the obscenity law is an exemption for libraries and schools. And so we need to make some changes here to specify specifically about this. And I think it's a hard cop-out to ask parents to sign something when they think their kid's getting a library card. I have a picture here of a 3-year-old. They're so excited because they get their first library card, right? And little do their parents know that on Libby, they can Google erotica just by having it on their device. I was before Governor Gordon during the legislative session, and a mom was sitting next to me. She's like, oh, my kids have Libby on their phone. Of course I would let them have Libby. And I'm like, do you know what's on it? And she didn't know. And she was shocked. And so was the governor. And so I just ask that you look carefully in the wording, that it's not just about hardback books, but as a librarian, or as a library board member, I can regulate what is done with this paper book and where it's put in the adult section, but I can't regulate the online versions. These are regulated by the state. They're a state funded book, not a Campbell County, Wyoming book. And so I'm just asking for you to really step in here and be the middleman. In addition, in this packet, I included an article that I included previously from CBS Cowboy State Daily. I went to copy and paste it into Google Docs, and they wouldn't let me transfer the images because they said they're too sexually explicit. So regrettably, you have like little icons for pictures. I did not do that. That is Google Docs having regulations about pictures, but I did paste one here for you. And so I just don't understand how this isn't considered sexually explicit. This is awful information. And this book is called Genderqueer, and in Campbell County, it is now in the adult section. So each county has to go through this process. I also think it's labor intensive for the people. You're asking people who are just regular old citizens to read these books. I'm paying a library director six-figure salary, and you're asking citizens to go and find these books and challenge them and go through this rigorous process. And then they have to hire counsel, civil counsel for, to go through a court system possibly. I just think it's a ridiculous expectation. And so we need to have more regulations from the state to help us on this level with even purchasing these materials and putting them in children's sections. Finally, in my packet, I have something here I used to help formulate our collection development policy in Campbell County. It's the Sex Act definition from Iowa Code. It is horrendous to read aloud. I've had to read it aloud at library board meetings, and I'm not going to read it to you, but it is in your packet. And then, and that wasn't in the memorandum that I read at the beginning of the meeting. So that was also in there. This is also not in your memorandum. This is Alabama. They have a different system. They have a library board for their state in Alabama. And so that library board has said, you will not receive any funding in our state if you have a sexually explicit book in the children's section in the state of Alabama. So we can't do that here. We have a regulation, a statute that says all libraries must be funded in the state of Wyoming. And I appreciate that. I appreciate my library. I go to my library more than just to research. My children and I are homeschooling family, and we use the library liberally. I constantly go over my 35 checkout limit, and my librarians are gracious to me. And I have paid quite a few fines because we've lost a few things, but I'm always happy to participate in the process. And I'm open for any questions. I truly am invested in this, and I would like to see it through. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Collier, thank you for coming down today. Can you tell us a little more about this Libby system? Is that a state-funded system? Is that part of the library process? Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, sure. So Libby is an app you get on your phone, and I'd encourage all of you to download it. It just takes your library card.